the last month, we've taken the decision as a company to postpone our two largest conferences of the year, LeadDev New York and LeadDev London. And this is a fairly dramatic place to find yourself as a company that spends its entire year organising conferences. This is my first LeadDev talk, despite having been organising them for 5 years. I'm more typically behind the scenes in an organiser t-shirt and a radio pack than in front of an audience. But I thought you, our community, might find it interesting to hear how we'd come to postpone LeadDev New York and to put on LeadDev Live. It was around the end of January that we first made a connection between coronavirus and LeadDev New York. Before that, we'd been anxiously watching the news without making much connection between the worrying chain of events taking place in Wuhan and China and our working lives. Eventually, we started to wonder, what impact might coronavirus have on freedom of movement and travel to the US? What would happen if we couldn't actually get from our office in London to New York to run the conference? We started to think about what we would need to run a conference fully remotely. So Megan, our head of ops, and her team started to put in place a fully backup event. We had a backup host, a backup AV team, a backup videographer, a backup event manager, and a team of backup support staff. We put in place a live stream so that we could stream back to our office in London and direct the show from 3,500 miles away if we needed to. But at this point, there were no cases outside of China, and when we spoke to our venue, they were incredibly reassuring. No events were being cancelled. There was nothing to worry about. On the 12th of February, Mobile World Congress was cancelled, and the events industry realised a serious disruption was coming. We ran a new risk assessment on the safety of running LeadDev New York at all. This involved things like reading everything the World Health Organization was putting out on mass gatherings and looking to other conferences for best practice that seemed to us to be doing a good job of ensuring their attendees' safety. Megan and her team put in place additional cleaning at the venue, public health safety signage, extra hand sanitizer stations, a medical officer on site. And I felt really confident that we could run the conference with these additional safety precautions. By the 29th of February, the big tech companies were suspending travel and banning attendance at meetings and conferences. I began to think about a scenario in which our venue was open for business, New York was open for business, and we felt confident in our ability to deliver the event safely. But dropouts of speakers, sponsors, and attendees mandated by their companies, how might the event feel for the people who did come? Might it feel so depleted that we would need to cancel anyway? We're a small and relatively young business. There are 13 of us, and we've been operating for 6 years. Safety has always been our primary consideration throughout all of this, but transparently, the financial impact of a cancellation was also now weighing on my mind. I knew that insurance wouldn't cover us. After the SARS outbreak in 2003, communicable diseases have been excluded from event insurance. And I also knew that we would refund all tickets in the event of a cancellation and be liable for most of the costs. This would have wiped out all of our reserves from previous years and more. By this point, we were meeting daily as a senior team, and I was swinging between fear and confidence and fear and back again. On the 2nd of March, the first case of COVID-19 was declared in New York, and we began to put in place a contingency for a postponement. However, we were still getting "please don't cancel" messages from attendees on Twitter. That week, 2 new sponsors signed up, and our venue was still reporting no cancellations of events. We continued to plan for 3 LeadDev New Yorks, the extra safe one run remotely from London, and the fully postponed one. On the 6th of March, New York State declared a state of emergency, and over that weekend it became blindingly obvious that we couldn't and shouldn't run LeadDev New York in April. We worked with our venue to postpone the conference to the end of the summer. There are a lot of people involved in the logistics of postponing a conference. Our host, our workshop hosts, all of our suppliers, AV suppliers, caterers, our venue, the people supplying furniture and printing, all of our sponsors and speakers and attendees. Companies smaller than us flexed our contracts to enable us to move the dates without too much financial penalty. Our sponsor partners reacted with warmth and understanding. Our speakers jumped on board the new dates. And when we put out our postponement message on Twitter, we got messages of support from ticket holders on Twitter and email. We were feeling pretty emotional and exhausted and overwhelmed with love for our community. This is the LeadDev team who throughout all of this had reacted with an incredible spirit, really undaunted and determined to do the right thing and totally uncomplaining about the undoing of months of their hard work. We sat down to think about what had prompted people to get involved in LeadDev New York in the first place, a need for contact with their community of peers, a need for content to meet the challenges and pressures people are facing at work. Could we provide all of this virtually? Could we do it for free and open it up to the wider LeadDev community who might not otherwise be able to attend one of our conferences? It's always been our intention to deliver more over the next year to our LeadDev community than just the physical conferences. We're rolling out global meetups. We've appointed a fantastic new community manager, Johnny. We're thinking about articles and other content to supplement the videos and the live events. Coronavirus has accelerated this process for us and made us braver and less perfectionist. We decided to think really big, not a series of webinars strung out over weeks, but one big 2-day conference fully online. We reached out to 40 of the most inspiring and stellar people we knew to speak at the event, and they said yes. And we started to think through the tech solutions that we would need to support this. It has been a steep learning curve, but you can expect more digital content from us over the coming months. And we will definitely be reaching out to talk to you about what your needs are at the moment and how we can meet that virtually. Meanwhile, we, like thousands of other teams in London and around the world, moved to remote working for the first time and came to terms with lockdown in London and all that means for friends and family and individual personal circumstances. Throughout all of this, our team worked late and hard and really inspiringly in 3 weeks to put together 2 days of what I think is really fantastic content. I would really like to thank the LeadDev team, who I'm so proud of. I'd also really like to thank our amazing speakers who you're going to hear from over the next couple of days, and our hosts, Mary, Amwan and Sarah, who've all given up their time to support this conference. So all of our worlds are looking a bit different these days. This is my new view up the garden towards our apartment past the sandpit. And I hope that whatever view you're looking at today, you are safe and your families are healthy and your businesses weather this storm. I hope we get to meet in person later in the year. And I just really want to thank you for making me and my team feel like part of the warmest, smartest online community during what's been an isolating and strange couple of months. I really hope you get value and enjoyment over the next couple of days. Thank you.